95.9 WATD FM here on a Thursday. And we have on the phones from New York our good friend Joe Walsh, who's been on the show before, but we're always happy to revisit with him. Joe, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How's everything at the station, okay?
Well, we're in Boston, so we're bracing ourselves for the cold winter, but, you know, everything is great, and it's even better because you're coming to New England this weekend, tomorrow, actually September 16th, at Uncasville Mohegan Sun Arena, and also the Boston Wilbur Theater. Now, Joe, I was wondering, I noticed that this was an East Coast tour this time.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Is that just coincidental, or was that designed?
No, that was designed. I had a couple things. I had a charity to do, and also, you know, my high school in New Jersey had its 100th anniversary. So I went back to my old high school and played a concert, and then I addressed the student body at assembly, which was really fun. But that was to raise some money to redo their library because their library's ancient, and the kids don't even go in there. So I had a couple, things to do like that, and I just said, let's put some dates around it, and the leaves will be changing, and it's a great time to be in New England.
It is a prime time for us. We came off, it was a horrific winter this year. In this fall, it's been such beautiful weather, and it's so good to have you up here this weekend. Let's talk about these philanthropic endeavors you have, because I've noticed that you also have a Santa Cruz Island preservation project. You want to talk about that?
Well, Santa Cruz Island is one of 7 islands off the coast of California, and they continue to be pretty much in their natural state, and my work's pretty much done because we got the government to make them a national park. But for a long time, developers were offering blank checks, and of course, the oil companies wanted to get one of those for a liquid natural gas terminal for the big vessels. And, you know, they're beautiful and they're untouched and there's nothing on them. And so I've had like a 20-year crusade to keep everybody off of them and leave them like they are. And it looks like finally that got done. So that's a good feeling. And then the other thing, I was in Washington. There was a National Addiction Awareness Day, and I played a concert at the Washington Monument. And that was just, I think it's time for the whole country to look at addiction, because addiction is rampant in this country, and it's just ruining lives and families. And by this, I don't mean anything specific. I mean everything. Tobacco, alcohol, illegal drugs, prescription drugs, food, sex. There's just all of these things. It's a human condition to do these things in excess. And it's time that the government takes a look at it and that people take a look at it and deal with it. So that's why I've been on the East Coast.
So basically you've corralled quite a band also for this East Coast tour. It looks like you have some old friends in there, Kenny and Joe. Are they on stage live with you this weekend?
Oh, yeah. I got my old buddy Joe Vitale, who played on Rocky Mountain Way, and Life's Been Good, and an awful lot of my old music. And I went through my catalog and dusted off some stuff that I've never really played live or haven't played in a long time, and we're doing those. The reason I never did them was because they're fairly orchestrated, and I never had a band big enough to do them right. But this time I put together more players on stage, and so we're able to do some of the album stuff that I've been made aware that people love it, and people say, why don't you do it? And that was the reason. So now we're doing that live, and everybody will hear what they come to hear. but there's some of the old album stuff of mine too, and anybody who's familiar with my music will go, "Oh, that one!" So it's a pretty good band, and it feels real good to do some of these again after a long, long time.
Well, it's great to hear. I mean, the last time you were on our show here in Boston, we were talking about Analog Man, which was produced by Jeff Lynne of ELO, and many special guests on this album with Kenny Passarelli and Joe Vitale. Ringo Starr was on it, of course, and even 50s pop icon Little Richard sat in on track 2, which I thought was really just a great tribute to him, and I'm glad that you guys got together, because you don't hear Little Richard very often anymore. And how do you feel about how that album came out? Because I thought it was a modern day masterpiece, the way you guys assembled that.
Yeah, well, we're having to make the transition from analog to digital, and one of the areas where that dramatically affected everything is the music business. Totally changed the music business. Albums are gone. It's digital downloads now. And it affected the way that music is recorded. And because of that, it also has affected the music. I'm not sure for the better. So everybody's trying to figure it out, all this new technology. And, we live on an analog planet.
We do. We certainly do.
I'm a little nervous we're going to get into cyberspace so much we're going to stop paying attention to analog things, and one of those is the planet. And I see the planet giving us danger signs that it's being abused, and we take for granted that the planet is sustainable. We take that for granted, but it's showing us that it's not. And so I thought Analog Man was very relevant in a couple of different areas. And it was really accepted well. We just don't sell albums like we used to, so there's no way to really judge its success,
Well, now let me ask you this. Comparing the costs of making Analog Man and now going back to the 70s and making, but seriously, folks, do you notice that the budget of Analog Man, I mean, just to produce and record the basics is so much less money now because of the easy ways of recording digitally? I mean, is that a benefit to musicians?
Well, yes and no. It is easy to do an album now at home, and it's really easy. You don't have to go out and buy it. You can just stay home and download it. The problem is that musicians got paid for recording and they got paid for their music, and the digital age has eaten that.
Correct.
So, although it doesn't cost a whole lot to make albums now, you don't get paid anything for them, so you don't have enough money to make the next album. That's the problem a lot of younger musicians are having, continuing doing what they do for nothing. And that's the real problem that needs to be figured out. Because somebody like iTunes is making huge amounts of money, but the people that make the music aren't seeing any.
Yes, it's a very delicate situation at this point. Of course, the younger musicians have no scale to assess it from because they weren't around in the 70s and 80s when it was a totally different script. And I think this is all they know at this juncture, and you've known how it was done before, and you know how it's done in the present. And the comparison of the two, there is no comparison. But also, what we miss in the analog age, as your album states, is some of that warmness, some of that human feel of the music. That even maybe a guitar is a little out of tune or a horn's a little out of tune in the song. To me, that lends a little personality sometimes. Now it's so damn perfect on the digital part. Your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. My favorite music is the music of the 50s. all the 45 RPM records that I grew up with that were on the radio all the time. If you listen to them, they're not recorded very well, and there's mistakes all over the place.
All over the place. Yep.
It is the performance that was captured that is part of what I love. And with digital technology, you have the ability to fix anything, and you have the ability to make the whole thing perfect. And because you can, musicians have a bad habit of fixing things that don't need to be fixed and making it perfect and spending hours on that. And every time you do that, you lose a little of the mojo of the performance. And that's what's missing in today's music, and I hear it every time I turn on the radio.
Well, it's almost
and this is a shame, and this is I don't know. This is just like not good. I don't feel good about where it's going. I have albums where I made a mistake. And it's not really a mistake. I just played something different than what I had intended to play. It's fine. But if I went back and changed it, I would say, well, what happened to that mistake? That was pretty cool.
Well, if you go back on some of the old Rolling Stones albums from the early 70s and you hear Billy Preston just a little bit out of tune with Keith Richards, you hear on the Percy Sledge album, When a Man Loves a Woman, those horns are... they're almost grossly out of tune, but we've come to love that about the song. And
yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
The whole charm of the song is the out of tuneness.
Those days are gone, I fear.
So we'd like to thank Joe Walsh for being on the show tonight. And Joe, once again, September 16th and September 17th, Mohegan Sun Arena in Boston Wilbur Theater. We hope everybody comes out to see you, my friend.
That was a great interview. I enjoyed talking with you.
Well, Joe, I'll keep close contact with you, and we'll see you at one of the shows, and we'll work together, my friend.
All right. If you want to hear some analog music, come to the shows, and you'll hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good to talk to you again.
All right. Bye.
Take care.